So, Hillbilly Elegy is Netflix's big fancy awards hopeful. Although that's so weird to think of if you actually watch the movie, and I don't think most of you will. But it's shocking that anybody would read this script and be like, I'm gonna get an Oscar for this. I think you would be like, oh my God, I want nothing to do with this. And as you can see, it just hit Rotten Tomatoes and it cratered, which I totally understand because it's a highly offensive, downright unwatchable film. I was angry that I had to watch the whole thing. I was like, this is so bad. And I'm about to add another Rotten Tomato to that score. Now, in addition to being a Rotten Tomato critic, I also am fortunate enough to be a Critics' Choice member. So I was invited to watch not just the film, but a Zoom conversation with the cast and its director, Mr. Ron Howard, who I have been advocating for so badly. Remember, he made Rush, and we were like, oh, he's totally remade himself. He's a fresh, exciting director at this stage in his career. But then he's made Solo, and now this. I don't think anybody would ever hire him again. I mean, this is quite the 1-2 punch. To himself, he punched himself in the face twice now. So during this conversation, this awards conversation, Howard said, and I couldn't believe it, he said he desperately wanted a female writer to adapt the controversial bestseller because while he had a strong understanding of J.D. Vance, who wrote the book and who is supposedly the lead character, he really wanted a woman to come in here and give him some insight into the two strong female supporting characters. And he got a female screenwriter, Vanessa Taylor, who has a scattershot resume, but really lucked out with a screenwriting nomination for the fish porn movie she co-wrote with Guillermo del Toro. That's right, fish porn. I don't care that it won Best Picture. We all think that's ridiculous. And also, that poor fish wasn't even that into Sally Hawkins. I felt very bad for him. I was like, he doesn't like you. All right, so anyway, the irony is that the worst thing about Hillbilly Elegy is the script and what a disservice it does to the female characters. It's so bad in its depiction of women. It's shocking. Vanessa Taylor did not do what she was hired to do. The main problem, though, is that, well, there are so many problems with this script. This is like one of the best examples of a horrible script I've ever seen. So the script can't decide who is the main character. It has 3 contenders. And then 2 of them are played by famous people, and 1 is played by not a famous person. And we'll get to him, but he does a horrible job. So there's a push and pull for who this movie should really be about. But it only has 2 hours of story time. I mean, clearly, this should have been a series on TV, a streaming show. But it's only got 2 hours, so all these three characters get shortchanged. Their stories told in the broadest of strokes, so cliche, with no exploration of where the characters are coming from. Amy Adams, by far, gets it the worst. I can't believe she took this role. It's so bad. Her character basically gets boiled down to the tired bitches be crazy trope, which I really was upset about because even in the poor shape that this role is in, you can tell there's so much going on with her character and she could have easily had her own movie. I think that I would hope anyone, but certainly any woman watching this would be like, oh, I see all the problems here and poor Amy Adams' character. I understand why she's so upset. But the movie has no sympathy for her. J.D. Vance clearly does not understand or care to understand the women in his community and how their situations differ from his because they're women. I'm like, and it made me really dislike his character even on top of all the other horrible stuff he did. I'm like, are you really that blind to how your mother's situation is unique and different than yours? What's wrong with you? It was very frustrating. Now, J.D. Vance is a real person, and he wrote this book, which was very controversial because people from this community were like, you're a jerk, J.D. Vance. And people outside of the community were like, oh, tell me more, J.D. J.D. is a horrible person to be representing his community. Again, I didn't read the book, but after watching this movie, I was like, what was this book about? It had to be better than this. So I went and looked it up and did some research. And you can see that J.D. Vance is not a great individual who has tremendous contempt for his community. And from what I could tell about the book, it really looks down on where he comes from, and he has the horrible, timeless accusation that the people in his community just don't want to succeed. That's disgusting, and to do it against your own people, wow. We've heard that throughout time, so many people, even recently, and it's appalling every time to see people come to this heartless conclusion. It's just despicable. But you know what? Ron Howard refuses to depict J.D. Vance's own faults. I guess because, I don't know, he got his money. I'll make whatever damn movie of this book I want to, quite frankly. You know, it's like, they don't want to be mean to J.D. because I guess he was like, they want him to promote the movie. Look, it didn't work out. It didn't work out. This movie's nobody's going to watch this thing. So they should have just been like, here, J.D., here's a bunch of money for you to go away and let me do what I want with this. Because J.D., the movie refuses to depict his faults, which even again, you can see are so blaringly obvious. He's not a great person. And this movie also won't show the anger and hate of the Appalachian community that's eating it alive from the inside. And it won't show where that anger and hate comes from. I'm not saying, it's not justified, but you have to explain why these people feel that way. I think that's important. So the movie strips all the emotion and reality out of what's happening and instead presents some kind of twisted, offensive Hallmark movie with absolutely no teeth. You're like, these people have just all lost their minds. And, I would hate to think that that's how people on the coast look at Middle America. And if it is, that's probably why we have a lot of the problems that we do today. You must understand where someone is coming from if you're going to interact with them. You just can't be this dismissive. Compounding the problems of the script, as I said, is that not only the adult actor, but the child actor, I'm sorry to say this, but this child actor is so unlikable. I'm going to say it. So anyway, both actors playing JD are not only bad, but incredibly unlikable. And the character is written to be unlikable. I can't believe that anybody would waste their time on trying to help this kid. I'd be like, many times watching the movie, I was like, Amy Adams, you should just drive. Just leave these people behind. Save yourself. I was thinking if Chris Pratt had played J.D. Vance, because, I thought that I thought the portrayal as is was very offensive and not one iota to be proud of. It was really an offensive depiction of, what Middle Americans are like. And in the beginning of the movie, trying to interact with, East Coasters, ridiculous. J.D. Vance can't figure out what spoon to use at a dinner as an adult. Also, by the way, he's supposed to be a Marine. Marines get it done. Marines are incredibly competent. They have very good survival skills and self-confidence. I just found it unbelievable that such an individual would act this way. It was, I thought, disrespectful to the military as well. And if Ron Howard had really rolled up his sleeves to see what's truly happening in Middle America and why, then maybe this movie might have had a chance. The mix of, this is a tough thing to do, right? The mix of calling out a community on its faults, being like, come on guys, let's be honest, but also showing respect at the same time so that the community you're critiquing doesn't just run away from your movie screaming and angry. That's, again, very hard to do. But hey, they don't hand out Oscars for the easy stuff, so Ron Howard should have just figured it out. I really wish someone would have the guts to make a movie or TV series detailing what Dave Chappelle has so astutely observed, and that's that many poor white communities are finding themselves in the same situation that the African American community has found itself, especially in the 80s. And you would think that would bring people together, god damn it, but it doesn't. Shared experience, whatever, and then see how that community got out of it, and then you could follow the same damn path out of there. They don't want, I saw some criticism that the book refuses to acknowledge the role that race relations, let's just call it that, plays in this situation, and the movie makes the same mistake. There was not like one black character in the entire movie, and it's like, they're in those areas. They don't have to be a lead, but I don't know. It was just, especially, the time period they're depicting. This isn't the 50s and 60s. And, the movie kind of touches on the difference between, how that was the heyday of Americana and how it's really been eroded. But that's not, like, this movie has so much on its plate. It just doesn't have the time to do any of it properly. But so it just does it all poorly. So frustrating. All right. Basically, once again, Hollywood shows themselves as trying to explore something they not only don't understand, but have no interest in trying to truly understand. I don't know why Hollywood keeps doing this, and this is why they keep getting criticized. They're like, we care, but you're like, but then why didn't you make an effort? And they're like, whatever. All right, so anyway, as for Glenn Close, they show pictures at the end of the movie of J.D. Vance's real relatives. And his grandma really looked like that. Heck, I have a great aunt who also looked like that. She had that exact hairstyle and glasses. She didn't wear the t-shirts though, but she looked just like that. And Close's character is the most interesting one in the film. I mean, I think Amy Adams would either be Amy Adams having her own movie or J.D. Vance and his grandma having their own movie. It was just, they tried to have both and it didn't work out. However, her story and everyone's is really undercut by the fact that everyone is just so goddamn mean to each other. And again, because they don't explain why, you just think everyone's a jerk. You're like, you're all jerks. You're all jerks. Everyone just seems so mean and heartless, and the movie keeps having characters say, family is everything, but not once does it show the positive aspect of that. It just makes family seem like a horrible burden that these people insist on carrying. It was bad. Now, there were a lot of great movies in the 80s and 90s like this. Ron Howard's heyday, and I'm sure he felt that this would be in the same vein of Steel Magnolias, Forrest Gump, or every movie or a lot of the movies made by James L. Brooks. But we live in more complicated times. This movie's not even as good as that. But Ron Howard's trying to tell a story about a much more complicated time, which has a lot of darkness in it. And those movies don't have the dark. I mean, they have a little darkness, but not to the degree that's going on now. And Ron Howard absolutely refuses to acknowledge the story he's been tasked to tell. So that's my review of Hillbilly Elegy. Share your thoughts down below, subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.